everyone, my name is Ashrama and I'm back again with yet another video on one of the important topics of legal reasoning. Now, till now we have all understood what is IPC, what is BNS, what all are the crimes under BNS and IPC. Also, we have categorized the crimes and crimes against the human body and crimes against human property. Right? That is how we have categorize the crimes and we have understood the crimes in the previous videos. For all those students who have missed those videos, please go back to those videos and एक बारी please ढंग से वो videos देख लो so that the basics of criminal law are clear to you guys. Right? So with this, I guess we shall start. So let us begin. So the topic for today is crime against society and women. Now, the first question that comes in my mind is, मैम जब आपने हमें सिविल लॉ और क्रिमिनल लॉ में डिफरेंस समझाया था, the first thing that you told us is criminal laws वो होते हैं जो उन सब offenses को punish करते हैं जो society को at large harm करते हैं. So crimes against society तो सभी हो गए. Here we have categorized those laws and we will be understanding कि specifically कौन से ऐसे laws होते हैं जो society को harm करते हैं. राइट कौन से ऐसे ऑफेंसेस होते हैं सॉरी जो सोसाइटी को हार्म करते हैं राइट. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट वी विल बी अंडरस्टैंडिंग अ फ्यू क्राइम्स जिनके बारे में हमने सुना जरूर है, जिनके नाम हमें बहुत ढंग से पता है बट हमें ये नहीं पता कि इनके एलिमेंट्स क्या हैं या फिर इनके एसेंशियल्स क्या हैं. राइट सो विदाउट वेस्टिंग आवर टाइम्स लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट विद द वीडियो. सो फर्स्ट थिंग फर्स्ट, इंट्रोडक्शन टू क्राइम्स अगेंस्ट सोसाइटी एंड विमेन. So here, crimes and law are classified in these subheads. First is crime against person, crime against property, crimes against society, and crime against women. Right? So overlap with above categories but need special focus. So there are crimes which may be overlapping, right? And you have to understand what do these crimes mean, right? So why focus on this? This is the question. First thing first, societal harm and social disorder. So whenever there is a crime near your place or in your locality, what happens? It disrupts the social peace and it harms the society. Along with that, it is a social disorder. It causes the condition of social disorder, right? अब एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल दूँ यहाँ पे. Let's say आपके घर के आसपास एक चोरी हुई, right? Now most of you जिनको पता चला कि हमारे घर के आसपास चोरी हुई वो बहुत ज़्यादा अलर्ट हो जाएंगे, right? Why? Because now they have that fear कि इनके घर में हुई है तो हमारे घर में भी हो सकती है, right? So जो social rest था वो कहीं ना कहीं disturb हो गया, right? So this is what the main motive of penalizing all these offences is. Second, impact on public peace and national security. There are a few crimes, there are a few offences जो national security को बहुत ज़्यादा हार्म कर सकते हैं. अभी रिसेंटली देयर वर अ फ्यू केसेस राइट जो हमने न्यूज़ में देखे, राइट. आई वोंट बी नेमिंग एनी ऑफ द केसेस बट यू गाइज ऑलरेडी नो. व्हाइल वी वर हैविंग अ फ्यू कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स इन बिटवीन आवर नेबरिंग नेशंस एंड जब अभी रिसेंटली एक वॉर लाइक सिचुएशन हो गई थी उस टाइम पे वी हैव सीन दैट देयर वर अ फ्यू क्राइम्स व्हिच वर कमिटेड अगेंस्ट द स्टेट, राइट. Now, CLAT's emphasis is on contemporary legal and social issues, right? So our main focus, right? CLAT's main focus is always on contemporary legal issues and social issues, right? Because the consortium expects you to be aware citizens, right? Now, legal reasoning questions are increasingly covering such topics. So again and again I keep on saying this, please read your newspapers, please read all those articles which are related to the current happenings because that is something which you can expect in your paper, right? Now let us start. Crimes against the society, an overview of it. So what is the definition of a crime against the society? So offenses that endanger or disturb social harmony, law and order और national security. अब यहाँ पे ना एक चीज समझो कि just because something is dangerous for the society, just because something seems dangerous for the society, even that can be punished, right? Even that can be penalized, right? So let us see a few crimes are mentioned here, like terrorism and sedition, right? Now what is this UAPA? What is UAPA? Comment down in the comment section below. What is UAPA? Now IPC everybody knows, क्योंकि हम पढ़ रहे हैं. UAPA किसको पता है? Right? So this is what I want you to comment down in the comment section below. अब फिर से drug trafficking. See, drug trafficking is specifically dealt under NDPS, which is Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act. Right? Now, counterfeiting. That is fake currency, section 489A to E of IPC. Right, then public nuisance under section 268 of IPC. Offences related to religion. These days we are seeing so many offences which are being committed against the religion. Right, अब वो कौन से होते हैं? Let's just see. Then cyber crimes. I don't think so there is any student who doesn't know what cyber crimes are. Right, and how they are affecting the public order, which is specifically talked about in the IT Act. Right, now let's just start with the first one, which is terrorism and sedition. Now what is terrorism and what kind of terrorism do you already know about? For all those who have any idea about terrorism, please comment down in the comment section below. Right, so terrorism क्या है and sedition क्या होता है? See, sedition was a part of IPC, right, but it has been omitted under BNS, right? And what is sedition is given here, that any act that attempts to incite hatred, contempt or disaffection towards the government. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे one thing which you need to understand is the word is attempts. Attempts to incite. Incite का मतलब उकसाना, right? किसी को इतना ज़्यादा किसी चीज़ के बारे में बताना कि वो बिल्कुल ऐसे हो जाए कि हाँ, I will do something or the other about it, right? That is incite, right? Then what is the landmark case law here? Kedarnath Singh versus the state of Bihar. Now, limited sedition to incitement of violence or public disorder. This is what this judgment did. So, it limited sedition to incitement of violence or public disorder. ठीक है कि जब तक public disorder नहीं होता या फिर जब तक violence नहीं होती, it won't be sedition. Right? This is what was decided in this case. Now, I have a question for you guys regarding sedition. I want you to read that question properly. See, this is the question. Just pause your video and see this. Pause your video and see this. Read this. Okay, I'll move ahead. This is also a part of the same passage. Next, this is also a part of the same passage. Please take screenshots if you're not able to read it properly. You can pause the video or you can take screenshots. I hope everybody has paused the video and has read the passage clearly. Let us see. So the question here, the passage here talks about sedition, that is section 124A of IPC. Okay? So we are specifically talking about this section. So section 124A of IPC defines sedition as whoever by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representation or otherwise brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law shall be punished with imprisonment for life, to which fine may be added, or with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years, to which fine may be added, or with fine. Right? Now, a debate regarding the constitutionality of sedition law in India, that is section 124 of IPC 1860, revolves around its contravention with article 19 clause 1. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे word spoken, right? But we know words spoken by actions, right, or by words written. तो फिर यहाँ पे fundamental freedom to speech and expression कहाँ गया हमारा? And the constitutionality of sedition was actually questioned on this only. And we know that there is a specific rule that says anything which is in contravention to the Constitution of India shall be void, right? So this is what it is. So here, यही यहाँ पे हमारा main question था कि section 124 of IPC, if it is contravenous to the Constitution of India, तो इसकी क्या legality है, right? When argued against as per Article 19 Clause 2, when argued in favor, the basic requisite of validity of law regarding Article 19 is that it should not be arbitrary and the restriction or limitation imposed on the rights under Article 19 Clause 1A must comply with the reasonable restrictions mentioned in Article 19 Clause 2. ठीक है कि 19 क्लॉज में जो भी आपको रिस्ट्रिक्शंस दी हुई है, राइट, यू कैन रिस्ट्रिक्ट द फंडामेंटल राइट टू स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन ऑन दोज राइट्स ओनली, राइट. वही कुछ रीजनेबल सिचुएशंस है जहां पे आप ये राइट को लिमिट कर सकते हो या रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकते हो. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. नाउ, फ्री स्पीच इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. All members of the society should be able to form their own beliefs and communicate them freely to others. The purpose of this freedom is to allow an individual to attain full self-fulfillment, assist in the discovery of truth, strengthen the capacity of a person to make decisions, and facilitate a balance between stability and social change. The sedition law, by subverting these functions, violates it. ठीक है कि सेडिशन लॉ में क्या हो रहा है? पीपल आर नॉट गिवन देयर फंडामेंटल राइट टू फ्री स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन, राइट, व्हिच इज अगेंस्ट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अगेन, राइट. So people must not be in constant fear to face the dire consequences of voicing out their ideas. Sedition law creates the fear of facing criminal prosecution in the minds of the people and restricts them from completely exercising their freedom, hampering the discovery of truth, which is the primary function of free speech, thereby defeating the purpose of freedom of speech, a law of sedition, thought necessary during a period of foreign rule has become inappropriate by the very nature of the change which has come about it, right? Now, it contravenes Article 19 Clause 1A and is therefore unconstitutional. देखो, जो सेडिशन लॉ था, इट वॉज एज ओल्ड. ब्रिटिशर्स ने ये लॉ बनाया क्यों? क्योंकि उस टाइम पे देयर वर पीपल हु वर अगेंस्ट द पॉलिसीज ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, राइट. तो उनको कर्ब करने के लिए सेडिशन वॉज एडेड इन IPC. बट राइट नाउ वी आर नॉट अगेंस्ट द गवर्नमेंट, वी आर अगेंस्ट द policies of the government which are not for the good of any person or which somewhere or the other need change, right? Hence Article 19 Clause 1A, and that is why sedition should be unconstitutional. Now, Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India guarantees freedom of speech and expression to all the citizens. Here you need to be clear, we are talking only about citizens. However, this freedom is subjected to certain restrictions provided under 19 Clause 2. Right? Namely, interest of the sovereign and integrity of India. Right? कि इंडिया की फ्रीडम को, इंडिया की इंटेग्रिटी को हार्म करके आप कुछ नहीं बोल सकते हो. कोई ऐसा आपका एक्सप्रेशन नहीं होना चाहिए जो इंटेग्रिटी, सॉवरेनिटी को कहीं ना कहीं हार्म करे. सेकेंड, द सिक्योरिटी ऑफ द स्टेट, कि कहीं पे भी जो सिक्योरिटी है स्टेट की, राइट, it should not be paralleled with anything that you speak, right? Friendly relations with foreign states, ये नहीं बिगड़ने चाहिए. public order disrupt नहीं होना चाहिए. You have to take care of decency और morality और contempt of court, right? contempt of court का क्या मतलब? आप कोर्ट में जाके कोर्ट की बेइज्जती नहीं कर सकते, किसी जज की बेइज्जती नहीं कर सकते, आप कुछ भी अगेंस्ट नहीं बोल सकते हो of what the court has decided, right? डेफमेशन और इंसाइटमेंट टू एन ऑफेंस, राइट. किसी को आप डिफेम नहीं कर सकते, आप किसी भी ऑफेंस को इंसाइट नहीं कर सकते, दैट इज स्टार्ट नहीं कर सकते हो, ऐसा कुछ नहीं कर सकते जिसकी वजह से कोई ऑफेंस स्टार्ट हो. Section 124A, being in accordance with the restriction of the sovereignty of the state and public order, is not violative of Article 19(1)A, which was also affirmed in the case of Sanskar Marathe versus the state of Maharashtra and others. This is again one viewpoint कि जब sovereignty को और integrity को हमें protect करना है तो वही तो कर रहे हैं sedition. How is it ultra vires of the constitution? Right? So the court held that action which do not excite the feelings of enmity and disloyalty, which imply excitement to public disorder and use of violence, are not penal. Hence, covering actions that tend to disrupt public order is one of the reasonable restrictions under 19 clause 2. Public disorder or the reasonable anticipation. Anticipation means foreboding कि ऐसा होगा. Or likelihood of public disorder is thus the gist of the offence. कि जहाँ पे आपको लग रहा है कि कोई ना कोई पब्लिक ऑर्डर डिस्टर्ब हो सकता है या कहीं ना कहीं आपको apprehension है that there is a likelihood of public disorder, there you have to see whether it is sedition or not, right? Now, Vishal was a member of an online discussion group formed on WhatsApp called Fight Against Dictatorship of Opposition, right? Of opposition. The online group was actively used by 10,000 WhatsApp users to constantly criticize the government for their actions and used to make personal and derogatory remarks on the political leaders and their families. The group was reported to the police, who found out that the group was being moderated by Ankur, a radical who wanted the downfall of the government. But he never messaged on that WhatsApp group. Chalo. So now you have to decide whether he will be guilty of sedition or not. Take a screenshot quickly and decide. Take a screenshot quickly. Okay, let's just see what the answer will be. So Ankur will be guilty of sedition. First thing first, you have to be very clear whether he will be or he will not be. Right? Let's just read. Ankur will be guilty of sedition as his forum has become a platform for spreading hate against the government. Second, Ankur will not be guilty of sedition as being a moderator does not amount to sedition. Then, Ankur will be guilty of sedition as, despite not posting anything in the forum, has been created specifically to incite people against the government. And lastly, Ankur will not be guilty of sedition as he is merely the moderator and does not post content on the forum itself. Think what could be the answer? See, option B and option D look somewhat or the same, right? They look somewhat or the same. And if you see A and C option, which one is more explanatory? That is what you have to tell me. Which one is more explanatory? Right? Think, I've given you a hint here. I want the answers to be written down in the chat box, right? All the questions that we'll solve today, you will be writing down the answers in the chat box, and I will tell you the answers of all the questions in the next video, right? So in the next video, I will be telling you guys why your answers were wrong or why were they correct, right? Now, let's just move ahead. Okay, next thing that we'll be reading here is terrorism law. What do we mean by terrorism law? So here we'll be understanding about UAPA, and as I've already given you a homework, the homework is already solved here, which is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. Defines and punishes terrorism, right? So now terrorism को punish करने के लिए एक separate से act है हमारे पास UAPA, right? So it issues broad definition, frequent arrests without trial, law conviction rates, right? These are the issues which are usually discussed, which are a part of this particular law, right? Now, what is the case study here? Shaheen Bagh protests, right? And anti-CAA dissenters charged under UAPA, right? What was the CAA? Citizenship Amendment Act. Right? Now, I want you guys to write down a bit about the Shaheen Bagh incident and the CA in the chat box. Right? I want to test how many of you already know about it. Right? And how were they charged under terrorism? This is your homework for today. Right? And I shall be discussing all of this in the next class. Right? Now, moving ahead, cyber crimes. What are cyber crimes? Everybody knows about cyber crimes these days, right? There are so many crimes happening that even the government has become so aware that even when you call someone, there is a huge advisory and an advertisement जहाँ पे आपको बताया जाता है कि ये cyber terrorism का एक तरीका हो सकता है, right? So cyber terrorism and a section which is popularly talked about when we talk about cyber terrorism is 66F of the IT Act, right? Then hacking, data theft, they are all also a part of section 43 and 66 of the IT Act. Spreading fake news or communal hatred online, it is also a part of cyber crimes, right? And lastly, online radicalization is also one of the parts of cyber crimes, right? One of the offenses under cyber crimes. Now, what are the examples here? Use of encrypted apps for terror communication, right? Case of Bully Bhai app, Sully deals, right? Misuse of platforms for targeted harassment, right? All these things have to be clear to you guys. What I'll do is, in the next class, I'll be discussing about all these issues, right? In the next class, I'll deal with all these issues and I'll explain in detail that what all happened in these cases, right? Now, crimes against women, an introduction, right? So crimes against women are sexual harassment, which is given under section 73 of BNS. You need not remember the sections, right? Then stalking, including cyber stalking, is a part of section 74. Voyeurism, which is given under section 72, assault to disrobe of women, 71, rape, gang rape, acid attack and trafficking. These are the sections given under BNS, right? Now, what is rape? Now, one of the biggest questions, right, one of the biggest problems with us is that we don't even know the concept of rape, right? What is rape? What is the provision of rape? Right? And when do we say that rape has actually happened? This is what has been explained and this is the definition given. So whenever we talk about rape, you have to remember that there should be a penetration, right? Even non-penile or vaginal without consent, right? An object or penile penetration is considered as rape under IPC. Right? So this is one of the biggest myths or one of the biggest points which most of the people, most of the students just don't focus on or they just forget, right? So it is not only the penis which is an object here, but any non-penile non-penile or vaginal penetration without consent of the person, without the consent of the person, forms rape, right? Including coercion, intoxication and false promises. Even though the consent has been obtained using coercion, intoxication or false promises, even then this shall be considered as rape. One of the most common cases are that of false promises wherein a person rapes the other person in pretext of marriage, right? And after making the sexual relationship, they just completely disagree to a marriage, and this is how rape has actually happened. Then coercion, डराना धमकाना और फिर आपका consent obtain करना, right? Next, intoxication, that is by giving you drugs, and here voluntary intoxication is not included, right? It should all be involuntary. बिना आपकी मर्जी के आपको अगर drugs administer करे हैं and फिर आपके साथ कोई भी ऐसा sexual offense हुआ है जिसमें penetration हुआ है, that will amount to rape. Excuse me. कट कर देना, छीका ही दो भाई, ठीक है? Now, marital rape. Now see, marital rape has been a center of discussion since so many days, right? So many months now, right? So what is marital rape? Marital rape is whenever there is a situation of rape in a marital relationship, right? And the exception, this is an exception, why? Because it is still not penalized in India, right? So exception continues for married women above 18 years of age, right? Pending constitutional challenge, because yet the constitution hasn't come up with any verdict regarding this, right? So we won't discuss it in detail because yet the decision is not out, so we can't say anything, right? Till now it is an exception under rape. Next we have harassment, stalking and voyeurism. What do we mean by harassment, what do we mean by stalking, and what is voyeurism? So sexual harassment, which is given under section 73 of BNS, says touching slash demands, showing pornography, sexually colored remarks, all these form a part of harassment. Now, touching, whenever somebody touches you inappropriately without your consent, that is how the person has said to sexually harass you, right? What are demands? Demanding sexual favors from the other person, that also becomes a part of sexual harassment. Showing pornography, right, without the consent of the person, just showing pornography to some person becomes a part of showing pornography, and that is also a penal offense under sexual harassment. Then sexually colored remarks, passing sexually colored remarks. I'll give you an example here. If there is somebody, if there is A, he's saying to B that you got your promotion just because you had good sexual relations with the boss, is passing a sexually colored remark, right? This is what it is. So the punishment can go up to 3 years of imprisonment, right? Now stalking, what do we mean by stalking? And we all are professional stalkers, right? I'm just kidding here. Stalking क्या होता है? किसी को follow करना, right? किसी के बारे में पता लगाना, right? Through social media. Now this is what is stalking here. Repeated monitoring, following, now explicitly covers online stalking as well, right? So when you keep on monitoring somebody repeatedly, and that too without the consent of the person, this is what is stalking, right? And the punishment can go up to 5 years for repeated offenses, right? I hope this is clear. Then what is voyeurism? Voyeurism is mentioned under section 72 of BNS. Watching or recording of a woman in private act without consent. That is, let's say there is a person who captures a woman taking bath, that will be covered under voyeurism, right? Now, acid attacks and dowry offenses. Let's just talk about them. So there was a good movie which was Chapak, right? In that movie they have talked about a landmark case, and उसमें उन्होंने ये भी बात करी है कि what is acid attack and what kind of life do the acid attack victims go through, right? So here it is unchanged from IPC and the terms have been the same. Minimum 10 years of life imprisonment is the punishment here, and victim compensation or free medical treatment is also awarded in it. So what is acid attack? When a person with ill intention throws acid at somebody, that becomes acid attack, right? Now, what is dowry harassment, which is a penal offense under section 85 of BNS. Cruelty by husband or relatives is still covered in it, right? So one thing that you need to remember in such kind of cases is that there has to be a relationship of marriage, right? There has to be marriage, that is the couple has to be married, and there should be a constant demand of dowry, or there has to be a demand of dowry before the death of the person, right? Right? So that becomes dowry death, and dowry harassment is cruelty by the husband, relatives, etc. And cruelty covers both physical and mental element as well. What is the punishment? 3 years plus fine is the punishment, and protective guidelines from earlier IPC case laws is still continued, right? Now, human trafficking and domestic violence. Now, what is domestic violence and how is it different from dowry related cases, right? And what is trafficking? So, human trafficking, it is a penal offense under section 139 of BNS, and it is exploitation through force आप फोर्सफुली किसी को एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हो या fraudulently with use of coercion you're transporting or harboring a person, right? You might have seen kids being transported from one place, one state to another, right, just to use them for prostitution, begging, etc. That is prohibited as it is human trafficking, right? Then we have domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is still governed by the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, which is an act of 2005 and not the BNS laws. So domestic violence is not a penal offense under BNS. Rather, it is protected under the Women from Domestic Violence Act, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. However, cruelty under Section 85 of BNS often overlaps. So usually we have seen wherever there is a case of dowry death or wherever there is a case of dowry, there is a mention of domestic violence as well, right? So in my next class, that was enough for today's class. In my next class, first of all, I have given you one question which you have to solve, right? You have to comment down in the comment section below, and in my next class I will be discussing that question with you guys. Along with that, I will be discussing the cases which I've talked about in this class, right? So I will be taking a few cases and I'll be discussing the main elements which were there in that case, right? Apart from that, we will be solving a few questions. So I hope you have understood whatever we did today. So this was just a gist of all that we have to cover in the next session now, right? So I hope this is clear. If you have any doubts, please comment down in the comment section below, and please don't forget to do your homework. It is really important for you to understand for the next class, right? So with this, I'll end here, right? And I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.